Welcome everyone to the Not Too Late Night Show. And we're starting off with good news because amongst another year of COVID, the US Capitol being stormed, murder hornets and Bezos in space, let's be real. 2021 felt like it was the end of the world, but it wasn't. Bad news, the actual end of the world is coming up.
It's a disastrous new normal. Catastrophic fires, once contained to one season, now a harrowing year-round battle.
We gotta go.
A major factor, climate change.
Climate change. It's here and it's real. And it's not just me saying so, not just science saying so. Even better, Kim Kardashian says it's happening. And I mean, you can try and argue with science, but you don't argue with a Kardashian. So all of you climate deniers, zip it, climate change is real. But now, there is something interesting going on, because when you look at the news articles that cover the climate crisis, they always talk about the effects it has on nature. So deforestation, rising sea levels, the bees that are going extinct. But nature directly impacts the lives of people as well. Think about oil spills that lead to extreme hunger, wars that are being fought over water, and just recently, the United Nations has said that a climate crisis is leading us straight into a hunger crisis as well.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, Jacquini, if we can add, it's always, whenever we talk about water depletion or decarbonization or saving the bees for that matter, people always seem to think that climate action is some sort of charity work that we're doing for nature or animals. Well, in fact, it's our asses that are on the line.
Yeah.
So that got Jacquini and me to thinking, because we wanted to focus on the one thing that motivates and unites us as human beings. We wanted to, find the thing that we care about as the most intelligent, complex life form that has ever taken place on this world. And we found it, because the one thing that we as human beings care about is ourselves. So in each episode of the Not Too Late Night Show, Jacquini and I will be here to remind you and reveal to you the human side of the climate crisis. So we will basically be here to remind you that we will be sunny skin-sided up big time if we don't act. And with that being said, my name is Haja.
And my name is Jacquini, and we are very happy to welcome you to the
Not Too Late Night Show!
both former Dutch youth representatives to the United Nations, and I know what you're thinking, not Deutsch, Dutch. Our country is well known for, amongst other things, legalized weed consumption, the red light district, and just the other week I was in Germany and I saw a newspaper that described the Dutch, and I'm wondering, how do you think that they described us?
Ooh, that's tricky.
Yeah.
They must have said the most charming cheese-eating people out there.
Very close. They said Käse, Koeks und Killer.
Okay.
And I mean, just look at the picture, look at us, you wouldn't get a better match, right? As United Nations youth representatives, we travel to a lot of conferences in New York or in Geneva, and just recently there was a United Nations conference on climate change, the COP26, and what the Prime Minister of Barbados had to say there was quite bleak.
Earth to COP, for those who have eyes to see, for those who have ears to listen, and for those who have a heart to feel. 1.5 is what we need to survive. 2 degrees, yes, SG, is a death sentence for the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
So we are at a crossroads. We either do everything we can to prevent that 1.5 degrees increase, or we accept that our future on this planet is quite bleak. And that's quite an understatement given the fact that research has already shown that 1/4 of all global deaths, are linked to the environment.
Yeah, that's 13.7 million deaths. And I think it just goes to show, and truth of the matter is, we are growing up in a generation for whom activism is no longer, a choice, but it is a fundamental necessity. And that also goes to show.
I'm Sofia, I'm 16 years old.
I'm Andre, I'm 13 years old, and we are suing 33 countries. It's pretty scary.
It's not a joke.
Indeed, it's no joke. our generation is so crazy. Like, how are we on the one hand side scared to make a doctor's appointment, but then not scared to sue 33 countries? And I kid you not, the youngest girl bringing this case forward is a 9-year-old Portuguese girl called Mariana. And what do you even do as a 9-year-old? I mean, play in the backyard, jump on a trampoline. That's what you would hope, right? But that's kind of difficult when your backyard is literally on fire. So that's quite bad. But how bad is bad exactly when we're talking about the climate crisis?
Well, for a long time, climate scientists said that we should stay under 1.5 degrees Celsius, but that honestly, really, we'd be okay if we ended up below the line, somewhere below the line of 2 degrees. Now they're saying that it wasn't quite right and that anything above 1.5 degrees of global warming will bring us into danger. And you see, here's the thing. If we reach the threshold of 2 degrees, these so-called irreversible tipping points will be set into motion. And, they could lead to mass migration, wildfires, deadly heat stress, even famine. And these tipping points are irreversible, guys. It's change that cannot be undone. That's almost as bad as when you're liking your crush's Instagram picture back from 2015 on their hiking trip to Kuala Lumpur with their aunt at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you just know they're gonna wake up in the morning, they're gonna see it, and they're gonna know you're an absolute creep.
Very relatable.
That's very relatable and oddly specific, but that's the level of irreversibility that we're talking about. And right now, we're not even headed for 2 degrees. After COP, climate scientists got together and they calculated that we're headed for 2.4 degrees of global warming. And to answer your question, Jackie, that is taking into account that all the plans that have been made at COP will be put into action, which is also something that still needs to happen. So, there's definitely work at stake. And I can already hear some of you thinking, because I know you're out there, some of you might be thinking, well, Jacquini, Haja, 2 degrees, that's nothing. That's literally the raise in my body temperature whenever I see a picture of Timothée Chalamaladingon. Well, to those people, Jacquini, we say, shame on you.
Yeah.
First of all, shame on you, because Timothée is at least worth a 10-degree increase of climate catastrophe. But second of all, if we reach 2 degrees of global warming, it's game over. We could literally all join the Amish collectively and emit no more greenhouse gases, and it wouldn't matter. Because once these tipping points are set into motion, global warming will continue to happen. Mm-hmm. And that will have catastrophic effects.
Yeah, and so about those tipping points, take for example the melting ice caps. We all know because of global warming the ice caps are melting. And now the color white reflects heat, whereas darker colors like black, for example, and dark blue, they absorb and they retain heat. And I can already hear all the Ben Shapiro fans ready to go berserk in the comments. Hold your horses. This is simply called the albedo effect. And now what's happening is the ice caps are melting, which means that the white color is making place for darker colors of the sea, the dark blue and the black. And as we just learned, those colors retain more heat, which means that the temperature of the water is increasing, which again means that more ice caps will be melting, which then will lead to a rise in sea level. And now you might be thinking, Jacquini, girl, why are you stressing? Give me some of that global warming so I can live a Bondi Beach slipper-wearing lifestyle.
Honestly, that sounds good though.
Yeah.
So is there a flip side?
Yeah, there is actually a flip side to
unfortunately.
the story, unfortunately, because these rising sea levels are so intense already that you have some countries like the Maldives, Tuvalu, Kiribati, that already know that their country will no longer exist in 80 years, only 80 years. So by the year 2100, these countries will be gone, point blank period, they will be gone. It will be a modern day Atlantis.
Yeah, and it's so bad that the minister of Tuvalu even decided to make a statement about these rising sea levels by giving his United Nations COP speech standing in the water.
We cannot wait for speeches when the sea is rising around us all the time. Climate mobility must come to the forefront. We must take bold, alternative action today to secure tomorrow. Faftailasi, Tuvalu Modetua.
Now, that's quite some dedication. And it's not just Tuvalu, because Kiribati, another Pacific island state, they even purchased land from Fiji a couple of years ago with the intent to migrate their entire population there. Can you imagine how awkward that phone call must have been like? Hello Fiji, it's Kiribati speaking here. Hey Kiribati, how are you doing? Well, I actually was thinking about making a reservation. Yeah, of course. What did the Deluxe Suite do for you? Like 3 to 4 people? Well, it will actually be a little more than that.
I'm just wondering, how is your Irish accent so immaculate?
No, it just goes to speak. The climate crisis is so bad. It's got the people in Kiribati speaking with an Irish accent.
Wow.
Shows the severity, everyone.
And that's not even all. Another tipping point is the thawing or kind of melting of the permafrost. So basically it's like a layer in the soil that you usually find around the pole areas, and in that permafrost there's a lot of carbon dioxide and methane. Now, we all know the temperatures are rising, we have global warming, so this permafrost is thawing more and more and more, which means that that carbon dioxide that is stored inside of the permafrost is now being emitted into the air and will catalyze global warming even more.
And we're not done yet, because scientists have taken samples out of the permafrost to see what's in there, and what they found were bacteria and viruses that were tucked away in there for thousands of years, and they found that these bacteria and viruses are still very much alive.
Uh-oh.
Now, I'm not saying that the next COVID Deluxe 2020-99 is in there, but I am saying that the next COVID Deluxe 2020-99, it's definitely in there.
Also known
As
as
Cofifi, of course. That will be the next name for COVID, definitely.
So get ready for the next lockdown, guys. And the crazy thing is, we all know what's going on, we all know the science, we all know what needs to be done in order to prevent this. So how come that we are still reaching those tipping points?
Well, I got an answer for you, Jackini, and I don't think that many people know this, but climate change isn't the only thing that's causing these catastrophic effects. There's also about a century of government stupidity.
We're out, he says, pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord.
I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
They want to take away your hamburgers. This is what Stalin dreamt about but never achieved.
Eliminating cars, airplanes, flatulent cows, and for good measure, tearing down all of our buildings.
I'm Joe Manchin. I approve this act because I'll always defend West Virginia. I sued EPA, and I'll take dead aim at the cap and trade bill because it's bad for West Virginia.
Okay, so do you remember all these youngsters from the start? It shows again, activism is not a choice, but a necessity. And if you want to support these youngsters that are bringing forward their case in the European Court of Human Rights, you can do so via this GoFundMe.
And also, in more positive news, the Human Rights Council has recently declared that a healthy environment is now a basic human right.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, Hajar Jackini, what type of UN nerd gibberish is that? Well, you all know that we have human rights, which means that if someone violates them, for example, a government, you can hold them accountable via court. And now that's also possible when they are not providing a healthy living environment. You can demand them to take appropriate action, which also makes it easier for these 9 youngsters who are bringing forward their case in court.
So the climate crisis and how we confront it is the story of our lifetimes. And how this plot will turn out is partly up to us. And we have about 95 months to prevent these irreversible tipping points from causing climate catastrophe.
No pressure.
I mean, no pressure at all indeed. Because, even though we're running a bit short on time, as we always say, it's not too late. And it's also not too late for you to subscribe to our channel, to like this video, and leave a comment down below on what sorts of topics you want to see covered in future episodes. Also, make sure to check out our Instagram via @NotTooLateNightShow. And with that being said, I just want to say this before we part ways. Let's make one promise: that Timothée Chalamet Ding Dong will be the only one allowed to increase global temperatures just a little.